Also in Barrow tonight, the whale watch continues. The whales remain trapped, but there are 24 new holes in the ice. Late this afternoon, an Alaska Army National Guard sky crane helicopter dropped a 14,000-pound concrete cylinder onto the ice. The ice now about 18 inches thick. The helicopter working about 5 miles away from the whales, hoping to clear a path. But after about 3 hours of work, the helicopter was only able to punch 4 holes. Todd Pottinger joins us now live from Barrow. Todd, what's up tonight?
Well, very slow going this afternoon for the Army National Guard helicopter. They're just getting used to working out here on the ice with the device. Again, only 4 holes pounded into the ice. Of course, they're stopped for the night. The sky crane will not fly at night. It's capable, but they don't want to be out there on the ice. Of those 24 holes that the whales are now using, 20 of those were cut by the natives. And it seems like the natives are having the most success today in the efforts to free the whales. Early today, the only visible progress to save the whales. A crew of 20 Barrow Eskimos and 3 chainsaws out on the ice, cutting a series of channels towards open water about 5 miles away. In Prudhoe Bay, the ice-breaking barge still only about 8 miles out of port and out of the game. The ice has proved too bumpy, the barge too heavy, the sky crane helicopter too weak.
Everything we do in the Arctic the first time there's a measure of risk involved.
What the helicopter will lift is this 14,000-pound concrete-filled cylinder. Plan B, starting today to punch holes in the ice on one end of the 5-mile route to the lead of open water. The Eskimos will work the other end, closest to the whales, and as of late this afternoon, they were putting in a new hole about every 20 minutes.
What's gonna stop you?
Nothing. Nothing's gonna stop us.
I hope we can make them go to wherever they go for the winter.
We'll work whatever we have to as long as there's hope.
The hole punch and saw idea still presumes the whales will follow the trail man has cut to open water. Experiments drawing the whales to the new holes have not been conclusive. The whales seem to return to the holes they've called home for the past 2 weeks. And joining us now live is Colonel Tom Carroll with the Alaska National Guard. Tom, how long is all this going to take?
Really don't know. Hopefully the desired effect would be as soon as possible in the next few days, 2 or 3 days. Tomorrow we'll tell the real story, in conjunction with what the Barrow residents are doing, as well as what we're trying to do out there.
Right. Now, the barge, which was the hope for, I guess, the past 4 days, what's its status? Is it over? Is it out of the game?
As it stands right now, I think that we can benefit more from applying our efforts here. The weather's good. This is the time that we need to be involved here. Attempting to continue to move the barge, and it's moving very slowly, I think would just have a diminishing return. So at this time, all the principals involved have agreed that we should leave it lay and bring our efforts here into the Barrow area.
So it's pretty much stalled now.
At this time, yeah, and we're bringing our other helicopter out of Prudhoe in the morning with another battering ram.
Okay. Thank you very much, Colonel Tom Carroll with the Alaska National Guard. Julie and Tim, back to you.
To bring in an icebreaker, is that a possibility now?
That is a possibility they have offered. We definitely had confirmation of that this afternoon, something Greenpeace apparently mentioned today. Yes, it is a possibility, although we hear that where the pressure ridge is, the ice is grounded onto the floor of the sea there, and the icebreaker would not be able to make it through there. What they're going to do is take these anvils or what have you, these 14,000-pound concrete blocks, and try to find a channel through that pressure ridge, which is going to be the biggest problem, and try to find a space where the pressure ridge is not touching the sea floor, so to create a channel for the whales.
Todd, are the whales using the 24 new holes as they were intended?
Well, not, I guess, as they were intended. They want, of course, to move the whales on towards the open sea, and they seem to be using all 24 of them. And when biologists heard that tonight, they headed out to the ice. We have not heard what they found out there. Again, they're trying all sorts of things to try to convince the whales to move on. They want to have the other holes freeze up, and hopefully that will convince them. But again, the whales have been using all 24, so something else has to be done.
So it's sort of a haphazard pattern then, there's no straight line.
Apparently that's the word we've heard, and they were using tarps earlier to try to discourage them. We don't have any word whether they're doing that again. Again, all sorts of options trying to lure them out, including gray whale mating sounds or guitar sounds, all sorts of things being considered.
Okay, thanks, Todd.
Thanks, Todd.
Todd Pottinger reporting live from Barrow tonight. As we've been hearing all week, the story is generating worldwide attention.
Meantime, in Barrow, the world's attention remains focused on what's happening below the ice. Biologists say the 2 remaining California gray whales trapped in the ice are in good condition tonight.
They are being kept alive by a rescue effort so big the Soviets are now involved. Todd Pottinger is standing by in Barrow. Todd, what's the latest?
Well, John and Maria, who could have dreamed this whale rescue and the story surrounding it could have grown to such proportions? The Soviets are on their way, 2 ships, one an icebreaker, the other an ice-breaking cargo vessel. Latest word we had was that they were to reach here late tonight, although they're about 100 miles away, so that puts their arrival probably sometime tomorrow morning. Again, NOAA, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, requested the Soviets to come here. And while the Soviets' muscle is expected to eventually free the whales, the innovation continues at ice level. This is the latest ice weapon in the whale rescue, the Archimedes screw tractor. The Vico vehicle, the only one of its kind in the world, cuts a 12-foot path through 18-inch ice. It hasn't been used in 6 years, brought out from storage to save the whales.
It has a purpose. Everybody's agreed to that now, and we're going to have to map strategy and draw a line which way and where we're going to go with this.
The tractor may reduce or eliminate the need for the manual Eskimo labor, now keeping a long channel open during what could be a short reprieve from the bitter Arctic weather.
It's like a spoiled brat.
The natives are now moving the whales along by freezing the channel at one end, encouraging them to go farther out towards the open sea, at the same time acclimating the whales to the shallow 12-foot depth that they now occupy, in hopes they will move on to deeper water.
Nature has a way of weeding out the weak and making sure the strong survive. And sometimes the man steps into the picture and helps out to make sure nature has a chance to make it.
They must somehow make it through this ice pressure ridge, an obstacle that may be overcome with the help of a Soviet icebreaker, the Admiral Makarov, and a Soviet cargo ship due in Barrow late tonight.
By the end of the day, we should have a good idea what we can do, perhaps what the Russians can do with their icebreakers, and go for the final push.
And joining us now is Gary Hufford with the National Weather Service. Gary, you were out on the ice all day. What is that final push going to be tomorrow morning?
Well, it looks like we have everything now falling into place. We've identified the fact that there's a weakness in the pressure ridge. We think that we can now give direction to the Russians that we can now use that muscle. And we feel that there are other innovations and equipment and players in place that we can now make a big push in the next day or two.
Okay, thanks very much. Gary Hufford with the National Weather Service. John and Maria, back to you.
Todd, is there any word at this time how much this rescue effort has cost so far?
Well, again, that won't be in for a while. What was said at a press conference this afternoon is that the National Guard has spent close to $300,000 or $400,000 so far in their effort, and they sort of defended that by saying, well, they would have spent the money on training anyway, so apparently this is as good as training as they would have gotten with that money. The other estimates on what the other folks have spent, all the oil companies and the search and rescue team, is not yet in.
Todd, this story has gone on so long now, almost a week and a half. Has the national media lost any interest in the story?
Well, I haven't watched the network broadcast this evening, but I would imagine by their activity today and the last couple of days that no, the interest has not lessened at all. Of course, with the Soviets coming in, that's boosted the interest higher, and so I think that's picked up a little bit of the momentum here. There is a little bit of physical fatigue, I think you see on the faces here of the crews, people kind of slogging through the hotel with their sorels on, but as far as just professionally, the interest, I think, is still very high.
And you are no exception, Todd. Thank you for joining us. I know you're getting a little weary yourself. Hang in there.
Yes, indeed.
Todd Pottinger reporting live from Barrow. In other news, devil worship. It's a practice that frightens some and intrigues others. Todd Pottinger reporting live from Barrow. In other news, devil worship. It's a practice that frightens some and intrigues others.
In Barrow tonight, the rescue effort for the 3 trapped California gray whales seems to be coming together. Biologists say the whales are in good condition. The latest hope in the effort is the addition of the Soviets, who are headed to Barrow with 2 icebreakers.
Todd Pottinger joins us live now from Barrow. Todd, what's the latest on the Soviets' arrival?
Well, the latest is they're about probably 50 to 60 miles away right now. They should be getting here sometime overnight or sometime tomorrow morning. It's an ice-breaking cargo vessel and an icebreaker. They're allowed here through a 1976 law which allows the Soviets or the Americans to enter the territorial waters of the other country to rescue mammals or people who are in trouble. In Barrow, the American effort to rescue the whales seems to get stranger all the time. This is the latest ice weapon in the whale rescue, the Archimedes screw tractor. The Vico vehicle, the only one of its kind in the world, cuts a 12-foot path through 18-inch ice. It hasn't been used in 6 years, brought out from storage to save the whales.
It has a purpose. Everybody's agreed to that now, and we're going to have to map strategy and draw a line which way and where we're going to go with this.
The tractor may reduce or eliminate the need for the manual Eskimo labor, now keeping a long channel open during what could be a short reprieve from the bitter Arctic weather.
It's like a spoiled brat.
The natives are now moving the whales along by freezing the channel at one end, encouraging them to go farther out towards the open sea, at the same time acclimating the whales to the shallow 12-foot depth that they now occupy, in hopes they will move on to deeper water.
Nature has a way of weeding out the weak and making sure the strong survive. And sometimes the man steps into the picture and helps out to make sure nature has a chance to make it.
They must somehow make it through this ice pressure ridge, an obstacle that may be overcome with the help of a Soviet icebreaker, the Admiral Makarov, and a Soviet cargo ship due in Barrow late tonight.
By the end of the day, we should have a good idea what we can do, perhaps what the Russians can do with their icebreakers, and go for the final push.
The final push. It should start tomorrow, perhaps Wednesday. The crew here, the rescue coordinating crew, will board the Soviet vessel as soon as they can tomorrow morning to work out with the Soviets a plan of attack on that pressure ridge, that block of chunks of ice that are blocking the whales from leaving. And late tonight, an NBC News crew flew a helicopter towards one of those ships, the Admiral Makarov. Those coordinating the rescue efforts say that pressure ridge should not be a problem for the Soviets.
But it appears that most of the ridge has a current flowing through it and will make it easier for the icebreaker to work. He won't be coming into an insurmountable grounded area.
Todd, a lot of hope seems to be pinned now on the help from the Soviets. Do they know the territory they're traveling in? Any problems anticipated there?
Well, as you're probably aware, the Soviets have the largest ice-breaking fleet in the world, so they're prepared with the hardware. We understand that they also are very familiar with the territory. They have charts of this area, so they should be prepared for that, for whatever they should have. Again, the rescue coordinating team will bring them up to speed on whatever they're not familiar with to make the most out of that icebreaker.
What about some of the past rescue plans? We know the hover barge is out. What about the 14,000-pound cement cylinder? Is that being used at all to break through the ice?
Right. The barge is out. That's out. The cylinder idea was dropped again. The sky crane, apparently there was a malfunction with it, something with the rotor we heard. So that's been dropped. Again, with the Soviets coming in, that's sort of all kind of pushed that to the side. Although we have heard that the sky crane may be used for the last-ditch Plan C, if that's ever needed, if the icebreaker fails. The sky crane used to hoist the whales up and over that pressure ridge. But again, the biologists say that will be their absolutely last resort.
Hopefully it's all going to be over soon, huh?
That's right.
Thanks, Todd.
Thanks, Todd.
Todd Pottinger reporting live from Barrow tonight. In other news, Anchorage police and Alaska State Troopers were...
Good evening. The Soviets are breaking the ice near Barrow tonight.
After arriving this morning, the two Soviet ice-breaking ships are attacking a pressure ridge of ice jumbled just a few miles from the trapped whales. Todd Pottinger is standing by live tonight. Todd, what's the latest with the Soviets?
Well, Julie and John, the latest is we understand the Soviets are still out there, still breaking the ice tonight. They have floodlights. They've just gone after it. The Soviet captain apparently told the Americans when he met them, let's break the ice, then let's party. The Soviets' arrival here in Barrow has definitely tilted the balance in favor of freeing the whales. The Admiral Makarov, 440 feet of Soviet icebreaker just off Point Barrow. Nearby, the Vladimir Arsenyev, 493 feet of Soviet ice-breaking cargo ship. The two vessels are here at the request of the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, an international call for help to rescue the whales.
Welcome, and thank you for your assistance.
This morning, the NOAA Rescue Coordination Team landed on the Makarov to work out a strategy for attacking the ice.
You cannot go in there.
We have a ship that can break that.
Yeah.
This is clear water.
The Soviets are the most experienced icebreakers in the world. They have the largest fleet by far of any nation. American ice experts believe the Soviets will make short work of what has become an awesome task.
Today, but basically, it should be a fairly easy job for them. Like I say, they've got it hands down in terms of experience on us.
The icebreakers will work along the pressure ridge, creating a series of openings for the whales. Meantime, the native ice cutting effort has taken a new turn, a line of new holes to avoid an area of shallow 12-foot deep water. Biologists hope to encourage the whales towards the 20-foot depths to the north. And the update we had from the biologists and the natives that they were successful in diverting them, kind of detouring them to that deeper water. As we mentioned, we wanted to show you some pictures of that Soviet icebreaker out there tonight breaking the ice. The two ships, the Admiral Makarov and the well, there are two ships, an icebreaker and an ice-breaking cargo vessel. This is not the first time the Soviets have attempted something like this. They were involved in a whale rescue of some belugas about 3 years ago off the Siberian coast. The Soviets are just tearing into that ice. They've met a lot of success from the pictures you see there. And at latest word, they were still out there tonight working the ice. Julie and John?
Todd, what kind of timetable is the rescue on now? Any idea how long it will take to free the whales with the work of the Soviet icebreakers?
Well, as we mentioned, the arrival of the Soviets has just accelerated everything, and the folks involved in the rescue say sometime tomorrow morning could be the earliest, 2 to 3 hours of serious work with the icebreaker around that pressure ridge, creating an opening, and then they're going to be using that Archimedes screw tractor, which we showed you earlier in the week, to kind of do some of the smaller work towards the whales. That tractor fitted with a plow that will come along behind it to kind of slough off the slush that it digs up. So we're talking definitely sometime tomorrow. That's the word we have.
Well, let's say they do make it out of the situation they're in now. Do biologists have any way of knowing that once the whales are free, they'll take the right passage south to their winter breeding grounds?
Well, they seem fairly confident that the whales will move towards the deeper water. Again, the word we had was that they have had success in moving them to the deeper water. They were talking about implanting them with radio transmitters, and we spoke with Ron Morris today, and he said if it were up to him, he would not do that. But this being sort of a committee situation, it may not be up to Ron Morris. He was concerned that the transmitters would be going into an area right up by their blowhole, which would be rather sensitive, and the animals being stressed already, that would just be another thing that would stress them further.
All right, well, Todd, seems like tomorrow is the big day.
That's right.
Get plenty of rest. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Todd Pottinger reporting live tonight from Barrow. In other news, the Kanaitse Indian tribe wins a victory in court that delivers a major blow to the state's subsistence law.
Well, John, it's really difficult to get an answer on that. Communications are very difficult from Barrow to Prudhoe Bay to get a fix on what's the latest. Again, the backup plan is, of course, to drop 14,000-pound concrete blocks onto the ice if the barge is delayed any further. There is apparently supposed to be a decision tonight. Later this evening, Colonel Tom Carroll with the Army National Guard and a number of the other folks, the biologists here, are going to apparently conference and meet and decide what the latest is on what sort of rescue effort they want to try. As for here in Barrow, we have this report from another day trapped in the ice for the whales. That is not a consideration right now, Maria. Apparently the meat is deteriorated, we understand, beyond what the Eskimos would want anyway. But of course it's quite obvious from all their efforts with the chainsaws and being out on the ice with all the crews and all their interest shown for the past week or so that the natives are not interested in harvesting the California gray whales at all for the meat. They don't eat the grays normally anyway. Well, anything could happen up here on the North Slope. Anything could happen. We understand the temperature is supposed to be dropping to 50 below for the next few days, so that's got to hamper some of the efforts here, one can only imagine.
Good evening. They are free, but they're not out of the woods yet. The 2 California gray whales trapped for nearly 3 weeks in the ice off Point Barrow got a helping hand from the Soviet icebreakers today.
But the whales have not yet decided to head home. Todd Pottinger joins us live now from Barrow. Todd, what is the story up there?
Well, Julie and John, as you mentioned, the whales have not gone out to open water. They're just spending their evening swimming that channel that the Soviets have carved out for them. And while the whales seem to be hesitating a bit, the Soviets have created one big window of opportunity for the whales.
The final push. After nearly 3 weeks trapped under the Point Barrow ice, freedom appeared likely for the 2 remaining California gray whales. A Soviet icebreaker had worked into the early hours this morning, cutting a 50-yard wide channel through the ice, just a half-mile from the whales.
The Russians are here, the whales are at the joining point, and the winds are blowing the right way, and we should do it today.
The Eskimo ice-cutting effort